Oh, hey. Woo. What's up, guys? This is a huge nondescript box with nothing on it. It's just white with a big handle on top, and it's a huge box, like PG size box. And I, at the moment of recording this, actually don't remember actually what's in here. I took a quick peek inside when this arrived not too long ago. And I think it's a motor nuclear kit as I remember, but obviously you guys know what it is because you saw like the title of the video and the thumbnail and everything. But at the moment of recording this, it's going to be a bit of a surprise for me actually, reminding myself what's actually inside this box. But it's huge, it's heavy, and there's a lot of stuff in here. So let's go ahead and get right into it. Right, so as I said, there's literally nothing to see on the outside of this box, but I'm assuming that this is basically the same like size and dimensions as what's going to be on the final box. It'll just actually have box art printed on it. But as I said, we have this handle here on the top, and the top of the box here immediately looking like a face to me there with the eyes and mouth. And now I can't unsee it, but let's go ahead and pop this open and check out everything. Oh, okay, so we're separated into two inner boxes here. That does sort of make things somewhat easier. So hopefully the instructions are going to be here in box number 1. Well, after a quick peek in there, I realized they were not. So we'll actually start with box 2, since this is where the instructions are located. Okay, just kind of moving some things around here to make some space. And okay, here we go. Now we're in business. Let's see what we got here. Here we can see quite the book of this instruction manual there, very thick, and again this is all printed in black and white, so I'm just assuming this is not the final version of that. We've also got a couple little parts here. This would be just like a couple parts there in this kind of plated metallic green. We've also got some water slide decals here in a kind of yellowish, it's not exactly like a shiny gold, but it's sort of meant to look like gold, I think, sort of like yellowish. And then black, some little bits there in white and red as well for the water slide decals. But it's pretty intense looking. You've got this huge massive base, and then it's the big like main kit, and then you've got this full like dragon model kit in there as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff in here. Just to take a quick look through the manual though, just because this is, again, I'm assuming not the finished manual for this. Here we have our parts list, which you can see there is pretty extensive, and that's continuing on to the next page. Hopefully it's separated out so that it's like all the parts for like the main kit and then all the parts for the dragon are separated like that. So we've got the head unit here. This is telling us which runners are going to be used for each section. It also says what color they are. It doesn't say all of which parts though, unfortunately, so you still will have to go through those. But yeah, we've got all the construction of like the main body here, it looks like, and then kind of like our weapons parts or something here, it would seem. Finally, kind of once we're through all that, which is going to be much later, we're finally into the dragon unit here, which is like kind of its own separate set there, all the parts for that, and then the display base and the weapons. Fortunately, there's not like a whole lot in terms of the weapons. It's just basically got this big sword, but there's still plenty of kit to build. And then the platform unit here, which is the base that's got there, it's really quite intense, everything here with this one. So the decal guide is here at the end, and then we've just got another couple of pictures here at the very end, just kind of in black and white. They're just kind of showing the base skeleton, which is going to be a metal frame that we have for this, kind of the inner frame, and then the finished kit, and then the dragon kit there at the top. But like I said, I'm sure you guys will have better like full color photos in like the actual finished product of this. But this itself is about 80 pages in length, so it's huge, the instruction manual. And then we've just got a ton of runners. And so since we've got two big boxes full of a whole bunch of runners, rather than going through all of the runners as I kind of normally do, I think you guys can kind of get the gist, and I'll just go through some of the runners here, just kind of showing you these, like these clear yellowish orange effect parts, which look really, really cool. I like the shape and the design on those. Got a couple of runners of those, kind of have a really nice, effective looking kind of flame look to those. Here's some parts for the base. You can see you are going to have like this brick wall and kind of mountain shaped base here. Some absolutely massive parts there for that, as you can see, and this is going to look really cool, like actually all painted up to look like natural rock. You can put like some diorama materials kind of on that. This display base here, there with some really cool designs built into that one as well. Another really cool effect part here with like this kind of bird design in that looks really awesome. Got a whole bunch of gold on some absolutely massive runners, and I was thinking that this is just going to be like a huge 1/100 scale kit basically, but just looking at like the size of these parts and the size of these runners and everything, I'm wondering if this is meant to be something kind of closer to like a PG essentially, especially like with the size of this base as well, just for how huge that is. Like look at this really cool ornamental part there in gold for that looks really awesome. Here's some like kind of teal colored parts, I think basically sort of meant to look like sort of a jade kind of color here. See those parts there for the sword. And oh my god, look at this huge base plate. So yeah, you have this base option for like just to have like the kit standing on there. You can like paint this up. I think this would look really good, like painted in all these little details and just like when that's all painted up. Also, this is the base that is going to have like the wall and like the mountain and everything on this, and this is definitely going to be more like perfect grade size, just like by the size of this base. I mean, this alone is about 30 centimeters across there for this huge round black base plate part there. Here's the ground part for that, which again looks really cool, and it's gonna look even better when it's all painted up. We've got 4 of these like black circle parts, which I think are for like the support displays, basically for the dragon to hold up our very large, very long dragon. And then here clamshelled up is gonna be our pre-assembled inner frame, which is a mix of plastic and metal there. Very heavy and quite large. So yeah, this is definitely going to be more towards like a perfect grade in size. It looks like it's not like quite as big as like a perfect grade, but pretty close. Definitely larger than a typical 1/100 scale Gundam kit. You can see this is kind of like the base pre-built frame here that we've got. All the shiny metal bits there, you can see where those parts are going to be in metal. So nice bend, nice movement here to the inner frame. So this is going to be quite the kit, I feel like. Another cool thing to show you here on this part, again, you can see where that gold piece is going to be set in there, and then just some really cool detail on some of these parts here, like this kind of pattern on there. And then that is everything for the first box, those parts for the base, the effect parts that I showed you, the frame and everything, and this huge stack of very large runners there. That's all it for box 1. Or I guess that was box 2, wasn't it? I forgot we switched them. So that was box 2. This is all the parts in box 1, which it does seem to be like this is all the parts for the dragon, and box 2 was all the parts for the main body and the display base and all that. So even just for the dragon, we just got a ton of parts here in gold, gray, red, and black with some clear orange in here as well. Also got a whole bunch of these like polycap type parts here for that, and even metal frame parts for the dragon as well, which is basically just going to be these frame connection parts kind of between the segments of the dragon, which is just a lot of repetitive segments. So it seems like this part of the build is going to be probably a little bit of a slog. But I mean, it seems like it's going to be absolutely epic. So I've got a lot to build here. I'm going to go ahead and get started working on this. I think this is going to be like a massive kit when it all comes together, and it's going to be pretty impressive looking, I feel like. So let me go ahead and work on this, and then we'll take a look at it, see how it all turns out. All right, guys, so here is our first Emperor all built up. The kit is huge, it's big, it's hefty, and I do kind of have a slight concern that we are going to run into some weight issues with this. We'll find out here soon enough, but it does certainly look really impressive here just for the size alone. And of course, that's not all. All the detail and everything on there look incredible with the gold accents and everything. Once I had this put together, it really kind of made me feel like it's sort of like a giant mecha version of like an ancient castle sort of. But of course, aside from that, we do also have the dragon here, which is absolutely humongous. It's particularly long. I mean, it's big too. And this guy here, we're also probably going to have some weight issues with, but we do have those stands for it. So we'll see. On its own, it's not gonna be able to stand up. We'll talk more about it here in just a second, but regardless, there's one thing for sure, and that it's certainly quite impressive. Let's get into it. And so first of all, guys, not actually an accessory, but you do have this additional part right here, which is actually meant to be kind of hanging off the side skirt right there like that, and you can actually see right there where that little gap is. There's actually a little piece that's meant to then like this is meant to like clip onto and like kind of hang off. Unfortunately, I seem to have lost that little piece right there, so normally this would just be kind of like hanging off the side skirt, which is like a cool little section there. So I could definitely make something to make that fit onto there again, but unfortunately don't have that right now. But then for our hand option parts, these are just going to be swappable fixed posed hands there with the hands themselves molded in black, and then like the backing part in that very dark gray. Aside from those closed fists, we also have a set of open outstretched hands like this. Very nice, very expressive. And then we've got two different types of weapon holding hands for, again, both the left and the right side. One with just kind of like holding the weapon in just like kind of a straight angle, and the other one holding it at more of a bent angle there like that. So kind of depending on how you want to hold the weapon, you can choose between those different hand option parts. Next up then, let's talk about this very interesting headdress up here. So at the top with these kind of parts hanging down the front and the back, very unique. And then you also have these kind of dangly parts that hang off to the side there. Those I feel like might be kind of getting annoying if they're kind of getting in the way of the pose, but at least for right now, they do look pretty cool. But yeah, this part here at the top, you can actually swap that. We have a couple of different options. The second option here being this solid gold, just kind of really cool, like a flying crest piece there, like that. It's gonna sit on the head like so. Certainly quite unique as well. And then the third option, this piece here, a mix of gold and black. This one just gonna sit up on the top similarly, just on the top of the head like that. So definitely three really cool options. I'm just gonna stick with that first one, just again because that's what's like pictured on the like display art. But I would be interested to know what like some of the cultural significance is, or what's kind of the inspiration behind the design, because I'm sure each of those different like style headdresses have like some kind of different meaning or history behind them, of which I know nothing about. But if any of you guys do know more about that, feel free to let me know in the comments. Similarly here, then we also have the Jade Seal unit. Now this again, it's exactly what you see here. Really cool their design on the bottom, actually like Chinese characters. But yeah, this doesn't really do anything, and I don't know what it's like really meant to do or symbolize. I'm sure it's something from the story of this character, from like the mythology or whatever. But yeah, don't really know what that's necessarily meant to do. And then we also have the bamboo slips unit. So this, again, I don't really know what exactly this is meant to be, but the clear effect part there has this kind of a phoenix in the design, sort of flying like firebird here in this really cool fire effect part that's kind of coming out of that. So I'm guessing it's just kind of meant to hold this, and then yeah, that's just kind of about it with that. On that note, we do have some more flame effects that we're going to come back to here. But anyway, his main and kind of only real handheld weapon here is just going to be this massive sword, and it is quite long, coming in at a length of over a foot, nearly 13 inches in length. But some really cool detail on there. Again, I think it's kind of made to look like sort of jade. It would have been cool if it was an actual like sort of semi-translucent, kind of clear bluish green, crystally kind of looking plastic. I think would have been pretty cool looking. But then the little bit of red, and then of course the gold accents in here along the sword handle. And those couple of parts that we had on the actual green metallic pre-painted runner is just going to be right here for in the base of the sword handle. This does have a connection part here, which you can use for tabbing this on to connect it into the side skirt for storage when not in use. And then kind of lastly here for the main body, we've got 6 of these big segments that are all going to attach around the skirt to basically make this big massive skirt section. So each one of these has this cool effect part at the end, which you can choose to have off of there if you want. I'm just gonna keep those on there though. And then each one is different in that each one has a different Chinese character there in the molded gold section. So they are slightly different, each one of them. But other than that, they don't like really do anything necessarily on their own, but just again, some nice color separation in and around here. This flame part actually is kind of like movable there. And then the connection part here at the top as well, because we can actually connect these together. And then these are going to come off of the skirt section and attach onto the backpack when transforming the backpack into like this massive flying phoenix. So we'll come back to the backpack and fire effect parts and everything here. Last thing I just want to talk about amongst our accessories for the main body is just going to be the display base. Then we have 2 very large display base options here for this. The first of which being this one here, this kind of big rocky mountain, and this kind of what's made to look sort of like a great wall, sort of as it were, around just a black piece here for the bottom, and then just gray for all this at the top. Definitely would look good painted, and then you could also enhance this too by adding some more like stones and texture and stuff into this just to kind of make it look even better. But this is certainly kind of a great base, sort of pun intended, to build off of for actually enhancing the look of this even more, and would look really cool. And the great thing about having 2 is that you could use that base for this kit and then use this for something else, some other kind of diorama or something, actually would be a pretty good idea. Because this other base also does look really cool in all that molded in detail, these kind of steps going up on the side, but then this one actually has the functionality of being able to hold up the kit, other than like with that one, you just kind of have to stand the kit on top of it. This one actually does have this simple connection arm for actually plugging up into the waist section, just to help the kit either just to stand up or just to be in like sort of an elevated aerial pose. That's going to work like a standard action base. You can unlatch the lever there and you can adjust the angle of the arm. You can unlatch this lever here at the back and then you can adjust the height of the connection arm here. That'll go up to about that much. And then here at the top, it's a push button. So you push that in one way and that frees up the joint. I think I have it the opposite way. Push it in one way and then this will be able to move forward and back to adjust the angle of that, and then push that through back the other way, and then it's locked into place there for that. So, all right, for the backpack here, the connection is actually not great. The nice thing about it is that it connects on this circle tab, but then it has that little notch in there, so that will keep it from like rotating, but it really, I wish that it would have just been just a like rectangular tab or something. Also, this tiny little peg is just way too short. I mean, the backpack's not necessarily that heavy, but it should have been a little bit more of a substantial connection, because just moving the kit around and stuff, it just tends to like fall off kind of easily. But a couple of these effect parts are just going to plug here onto the kind of top sides of the backpack that are sticking out to the side there, like that. And then this one is one here that just kind of, again, adds to like the Firebird kind of Phoenix aesthetic look of this. This is going to plug in up at the top like that to complete the look, and it's certainly a look that's certainly pretty impressive here, adding though more weight to a backpack that does have its issues as I just mentioned. But let's go ahead and pop that off and take a closer look, because there is, as I said, more that you can do with this. So if we take our backpack here and flip it around this way, here on the top, you do have this sort of bird head, which will kind of flip out here, just basically something like that, I guess. And then here on the bottom side, little bird feet. Also, you can extend those down like that as well, and they've got little claws and stuff on there. So to turn basically our whole backpack into a bird, and then we're going to take those sections, as I mentioned before, connect them end to end, and then the three of these can connect into the bottom of here. There we go, just like that for our three-tailed bird. Now it's going to look pretty impressive, and you can then put it up on one of the display bases, the same display bases that you use for the dragon. So that means you will have to use one of the dragon's bases for this if this is how you wanted to display this backpack. I think you are probably going to have some weight issues with it, because it feels like as it is now, these tails being very long. Now you could shorten the tails to just one section each and not double them up like that, but that's just kind of how it's meant to be, because the tails, I guess, meant to be kind of long. Now shaking it around, like trying to show you guys on camera, they're kind of getting kind of floppy, but I think if it's up on a base, the tails are probably going to sink down a little bit there, as you can see, but they're holding the pose pretty well like that, and it's definitely a really cool effect, I have to say. But okay, and then as for the dragon here, now this thing is going to come in at around 40 inches in total length. You could actually extend that about another inch and a half too, because you do have an extra segment that's not used in here, but I can actually use this one to show you guys maybe just a little bit closer as to like kind of what is involved with each section. You have gold and red details on the bottom, these fins up here at the top on each one are able to move like that. The side panels as well are actually able to open up. So you have a lot that goes into each one of these sections, and there's about 20 of them that you build, and you have the metal joint here in between each one. Now for the head here, the mouth will open and close a little bit. As you can see, it kind of opens and closes the whole section, which is kind of attached onto the side of there. Really cool design here for this, and we actually have a second option, so you can either make it like that, or you can make this head here, which does have the same movement there of the mouth opening, but the wing parts on the side of the head don't move at the same time. But really ornamental, really cool looking in its design here as well. But I just went ahead and used the one that's shown on like the instruction manual, or like the box art, what would be the box art here. So anyway, you do have the option for those. And you have an option here for the legs as well. Actually, this kind of shoulder part you have an option whether you want to have this kind of, again, longer design there, longer, slimmer design, or this more bulky design with more gold, more visible gold on the side of it. So there's your two options for like the shoulder parts. The legs just are going to be all the same, all four of them. We've got a few different points of articulation here at the kind of elbow, sort of, as it were. This red part here at the back of the claw, each one of the claws can be moved individually there as well. And then obviously with just like these thin little claws for the feet and just the long and very heavy design of the kit, you can try, but you're not really going to be able to get it to stand up on its own. So we are definitely going to need the support bases for this. And so yeah, with the 4 different support bases, and then you have these arm sections that will just plug into there. Now you can choose how many sections you want to have. So this one's like 3 sections long, and then each section is going to give you a point of articulation here where you can actually bend that a little bit side to side. You're pretty much just going to want this just straight up though, because then here at the very top you just have this sort of connection piece, which is just basically going to cup the metal connection piece between the different segments of the dragon. I'm just trying this out here real quick. The stands do hold up the dragon quite well. You would definitely need to use 3 or 4 of them to hold up the entirety of the length. Of course, 4 being the maximum of the display bases that we have for this, but you do have 10 additional segments of the arms if you wanted to have this much higher. That said, I think probably any higher than 3 sections high, and it's going to be rather wobbly. I'll just talk briefly a little bit more about the main body and the gimmicks that it has. It doesn't actually really have a ton of gimmicks built into it, but you can see we do have a lot of great detail. The bottom side of the feet, some nice metal parts there. Obviously the gold inset part on the front skirt there for the dragon looks really cool. You have these kind of cloth looking parts that hang off to the side. Here on these big shoulder armor parts, you have this circle piece on the side that will come off. And then we've got these big flame effect parts that will then go in kind of place of that. To put that gold circle part back on top of like the flame effect part, and then it's meant to look like this kind of flame effect is there over the shoulder. You got that obviously for both shoulders. That looks really cool there as well. Down here on like the side of the forearm, this part will actually open up. It's kind of meant to look like this big mouth, I think, is what that's made to look like anyway. You can see like kind of the eyes and the mouth open up, and those are meant to be some sort of weapon or something here, I guess, in the side of the forearm. I'm not exactly sure, but it does look pretty cool there. So that opens and closes there like that. And otherwise, the articulation is going to be pretty solid, having double joints in the knees and elbows with some nice separation of this knee armor here. As you can see, when we bend that knee, it's rather tight there. But yeah, as I alluded to before, we might have some issues, and it's not so much like the weight of the joints, because the knees are quite tight and the hip joints seem pretty good. It's more so just between like the top and bottom half of the body. This connection's really loose, and it's just because this peg in there, I feel like the peg's kind of small and kind of short. They're connect to the top and bottom half, which are each on their own like kind of heavy. So when you have 2 big heavy sections as well as a pretty big heavy backpack just connected via these like small short little pegs, it's kind of not really enough. And one other thing too, just for a size comparison, here it is compared with a master grade RX-78-2. So you can see, at least compared to a 1/100 scale Gundam model kit, at least an average sized one, it's going to be quite large. I wouldn't exactly say it's like perfect grade size, but it's definitely somewhere in between. It's quite big. All right, guys, so there was a lot to go through with this kit, and as we just wrap up the review here by taking a look at a couple of poses, probably the main thing that I could express to you guys, because I mean, you've obviously already seen everything that it comes with, how massive the kit is and how detailed it looks and all that, but yeah, just kind of the other main thing that I would recommend you guys to consider if you're thinking about getting this kit, if you haven't already, is just that it's gonna take up a lot of space. No matter how you end up displaying this, if you're gonna be displaying the main kit along together with the dragon, I mean, even just the main kit on its own is quite large, and then with the dragon as well, I mean, it's just going to be taking up a lot of space in your display, and it is going to be quite the lengthy build as well. I mean, because you basically have 2 massive kits to put together with this, between the main kit and then the dragon, which also took quite a long time to put that all together, just because there's a lot of sections of that. So that's something to consider, but this is definitely one that's going to make a really nice big centerpiece. I mean, or if you have a collection that already has like a lot of larger model kits like PGs and stuff like that, this one will fit right in. But if if that's not the case, then this is one that's definitely going to stand out in your collection. So if you wanted like a really nice big centerpiece in this style, like with the dragon and all that, I mean, this is certainly a good kit that I would recommend you guys. Just as far as the kit goes generally, just like the quality of it, how's the fit and all that, actually everything fits quite well. The only problems that I have really just kind of with the fit of anything is mostly just in like kind of the main connections. Like all the little parts, everything fits together smoothly. I didn't have any issues with any of like the smaller individual parts going together. It's just kind of like the main pegs like between different sections of it, as I showed you guys, kind of between the top and bottom half of the kit. Some of the connections in like the dragon's body, it's kind of interesting that some of those metal connection parts between like the segments, some are really tight and some are not as tight at all. And I don't know if it's just like something that I did wrong maybe in the assembly, but it could just be due to the fact of this being an early sample build, even though the kit is actually already out now. I did get this slightly early, and with it being the unfinished product, maybe it's just that some of those connections weren't quite like 100%. But at the end of the day, there wasn't anything that I experienced that would be a deal breaker that I would recommend you guys to like stay away from this kit because, you know, whatever is so bad. There's nothing like that. Everything on this kit worked like perfectly fine, really. So if you're interested in checking out the kit, you can check the link in the video description there to USA Gundam Store. We've got all sorts of great stuff there on the site. And as always, guys, hope you enjoyed taking a look at this kit with me here for today's video. If you did, you can leave a like, and you can also make sure that you're subscribed if you're not yet subscribed. I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Until next time, hope you guys are doing well. I'll see y'all later. Bye-bye.